believe Buffalo is going to win it, folks.
Kick your heels up and down.
Let's see why the Buffalo Bills are en route to the playoffs.
Come on now, the Bills are making it happen now. Stand up now, come on and shout.
Buffalo Bills go undefeated. And we're going to the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Now, baby, come on, come on.
No one
Come on
circles the
and
wagon
shout.
like the Buffalo Bills.
All right, we are live, and we are back. Welcome to another episode of the Overdue Bills podcast, and we're truly excited today. We have a special guest on with us, and I'm going to introduce everybody. You know how we do it here at the Overdue Bills podcast. Our guy, yours truly, Matt, aka Matty Ice. Matt, man, what's up?
Not much, man. You know, just happy to pod, happy to be here. Just getting back from a long night. Went to Toronto last night to see Judge tie the record.
Oh, you was there?
Yeah, I had to break out and do it.
Oh man,
yeah.
that's dope.
So yeah,
I know the cuz who missed the ball is still tight. He probably still sitting in the stands.
Yeah, I would have jumped down. I would have had to jump down in the bullpen. Took that night in Canadian jail.
Right. No, listen. Well, I would say you had to wait till the Queen come back, but I guess the King. Shout out to the Queen. Rest in peace. You know, that's what they tell us. You know, you gotta wait till a monarch comes back until you get out of jail. But shout out to Matt being in Toronto. Just in Toronto, wonderful city. But on to the next. Our guy, Rad, aka All Purpose Rad. Rad, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Great day to pod. Great week for football. You know what I mean? It's a great game coming up. Great matchup. Game of the week. So I'm ready for this. Let's go.
Absolutely. Before I introduce the guest, I need to let the people know I am in a hoodie because I'm war ready. I'm ready. This is a big game, and listen, I just had to get ready. I was like, nah, I'm not gonna put a hat on. You put the hoodie on, get ready for the game. But a special guest. We told you every week we're gonna come with a special guest. And we appreciate Kevin for being on the podcast. And Kevin, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, guys. Yeah, this one's going to be the game of the week. I'm pretty certain about that. Two great quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. And one of my favorite things, I will say this first off, is how much respect both guys have for each other. That's what I love about it.
Same draft class. Yep.
We
know it.
Yep.
Absolutely. We're definitely going to get into all of the minutiae of the game. Very excited. And before we do that, I need to let people know that this broadcast is brought to you by 26 Shirts. Shout out to Buffalo fan base. If you go on any of their socials or anything like that, you can find out more about 26 Shirts. But specifically, this show is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, and that is none other than Buffalo Wing Kings. Matt, please let the people know who is our presenting sponsor.
Yes, sir. This show and every other show is brought to you by the good people at Wing Kings. You know, there's two things the guys here at the Overdue Bills podcast know. That's Bills football and that's wings. Our first choice and the best choice is Buffalo Wing Kings. Head out now. You got time before Thursday night football. Definitely get your pre-order in before the game on Sunday. If you want to get some wings, hit up our guys at Buffalo Wing Kings. Stop down and see them at 484 Elmwood Avenue. Or give them a call at 716-248-1427 and find out why they say and we know they got the best wings in town, hands down. And make sure you mention the Overdue Bills podcast. Get 10% off your order.
10% goes a long way.
Please, 10% definitely goes a long way, especially with wings right now. So I want to say this at the onset. We ask everybody to please like, share, rate and review, do all those amazing things so we can get this show out to everybody. Please hit us up on all of our social media platforms and go to overduebillspod.com. Overduebillspod.com. You can find all Overdue Bills content, all Overdue Bills merch, all those amazing things that you need to keep up with us. And with that being said, let's get into the show. Quick question of the day. And this question is for our special guest because I want to know. I think everybody wants to know. And it's kind of, been going around. Definitely in the offseason, it's been kind of tempered now. But this idea of the Lamar Jackson signing, right? Or a non-signing, I should say. So my question is just plain and just upfront. How do Ravens fans feel about it? Is it a situation where you think, okay, we're savvy. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to, be savvy enough to, hopefully get Lamar Jackson a discount as we did, the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen? Or is it a situation of it is the best contract in sports? Do you think it's disrespect at this point? Do you think it's disrespect? And Kevin, I'm going to just let you have the floor on that one.
Yeah, I don't think it's disrespect personally. First of all, when talking about Josh Allen's contract, I mean, yeah, that deal every day looks like a steal. Even Patrick Mahomes' contract, that looks like a steal every day now because you're seeing these contracts. And so for Jackson, there are a couple of things that play into it. I think one is you looked at what happened with Baltimore in 2012 when Joe Flacco was still the quarterback. He turned down an extension during the last year of his rookie deal. And then what did he go on to do? He went on and won the Super Bowl. And so he made himself, a ton of money just in that run himself. Now, Flacco has said, in the premise of things, he wasn't betting on himself like that. Like, that's not how he viewed it. And Jackson's kind of echoed those same things. Like, he's not betting on himself. But last year, I think a lot of people forget that Lamar Jackson was in the MVP conversation through the first couple months of the year. He had the game against Indianapolis in week 5 where he went like 37-43 or something, led that team to an overtime win. But then the Miami game happened in week 10 with the blitzing and the Ravens couldn't figure it out. He misses the last couple games of the year with the ankle injury. If he had signed a deal in, let's say April, May, June, July, his stock then would not be as good as it is now. And kind of the thing I was saying throughout the course of the offseason was, look, if he plays well throughout the entire season and he wins a couple playoff games, makes the Super Bowl, wins an MVP or just does something like that, his stock is going all the way up, especially with every quarterback contract we have seen. He's a winner every time a deal gets signed because the market continues to go up. His price, yesterday's price is not today's price for Lamar Jackson because he is, again, and it's something I said before the year started. It's almost like if he has a great first month of the year, if he's in the MVP conversation, oh man, like it's going to continue to rise. That price is going to rise. And so far, leading the league in touchdown passes, leading the league in touchdown percentage. And in my opinion, at the forefront of an MVP conversation includes Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes and some of those guys. So I think for Lamar, he's doing what he believes is right. He's somebody who's going to deserve every penny of whatever he signed. So I don't think it's disrespect by the organization or anything like that. I just think that, in a deal like this, the Ravens have not had a deal of this magnitude come across their table before with any one of their players. They're going to have to pay him a lot of money. It's going to impact their team, and fully guaranteed contracts. It would be great for Lamar Jackson to get that deal. But what's it going to do to the team structure? Baltimore has to look at it from that perspective and kind of say, how much can we do with our team with Lamar on this contract? Now, is Lamar worth a fully guaranteed contract? Yeah, I think so. But you have to look at it from a situation of what will the rest of the team look like once that happens. That's what Eric DeCosta and company are kind of going through right now. Plus, both sides have expressed they want to have the partnership continue. Lamar says he wants to stay in Baltimore and all that. The Ravens, same thing. So that's a good sign, at least in my opinion. So for now, they've tabled the talks. We've kind of tabled the extension talks here in Baltimore, but it's definitely going to be something that pops up throughout the course of the year because, again, he's not signed. It's a little bit of a shock he's not.
I guess my follow-up question is, do you think, not regret, but because, if you fully guaranteed the contract before the season started at $200 million, just say that. Now the season over, potentially go to Super Bowl, potentially get the MVP. What are we talking? 250, 275? You know what I mean? So do you think the Ravens are going to quote unquote regret not just giving him that 210, 215 that he wanted just in the beginning of the season?
Yeah, it's a fair question because I think before the year started and they didn't sign him, I said, look, the price for Lamar Jackson is not going to go down. Even if he has a bad year, someone will pay him, whether it's the Ravens or somebody else. He's too talented of a player not to pay. So if you're talking about what he's made himself so far through these 3 weeks, the Ravens would have to pay him more. If he signed today, right now as we're talking, the deal would probably be a lot more millions than it would have been if we were talking at the end of August. So I don't know if regret's the right word, but I understand what you're saying. And I agree with the sentiment that you're saying where, look, if he wins the Super Bowl, it's a great problem to have. You want to have him win the Super Bowl if you're the Ravens. If you're the Ravens right now, you're saying, hey, go out and win us that Super Bowl. We'll pay you whatever you want. We'll do it. So I think they're waiting on that. But again, it's coming from both sides where I think another deal here is Lamar doesn't have an agent. I know that's been made kind of a big deal throughout the media where if he had an agent, would he even be playing right now? Would his agent say to him, look, you cannot step on the field till you get a deal? Lamar's too competitive to do that. He cares about the game too much. And that's one of the things I really like about him. But in terms of what his price would have been if he signed 3 weeks ago versus at the end of 2022, when, maybe we're talking January, February, I think the price will be substantially higher when we get to that point.
Listen, and you said it best, Kev. Yesterday's price is not today's price. I mean, like, I think most of the football collective, we're rooting for Lamar Jackson, right? You know what I'm saying? Even though obviously the Bills are going against him. I know Matt, I know, Rad, we're definitely rooting for him to be great. So we'll see. And obviously it's going to be an amazing, amazing game. I don't understand why the NFL will not flex this game. It's a 1:00 game in Baltimore. Everybody's saying it should be a night game, but it is what it is, right? Let's just have a great 1:00 game.
As I say, I don't think they can start flexing games like contractually until the end of the season, like those built-in weeks. Like I think
CBS would be tight. Yeah, CBS would be tight.
Yep, absolutely.
Is Romo calling it? Romo will be tight.
The next time they're negotiating their contract, maybe they need to tell Amazon and Bezos, listen, we have the ability to flex any game we absolutely want.
Bezos gonna do it. Bezos gonna do it.
Buy this one out, Jeff. Yep.
But with that being said, let's get into the game. Let's get into the game. And I guess we might have to spend a little bit of time on this because our injury report is extensive. Matt, can you kind of go through our injury report and just the notable people, and then I'm gonna send it to Kev and kind of see where we land from there.
Yeah, so the injury report, like you said, it's more of a laundry list than anything. So I'm gonna just go, with notable guys that we know that aren't playing. Christian Benford, the rookie who stepped in, he was playing well. He had a fracture in his hand, so he had to get surgery. He'll be out, I think, for the next couple weeks. Gabe Davis didn't practice today. That's a notable one. With how our offense, was kind of banged up and catching cramps and stuff last week. That's a very serious one. A couple other guys on the injury report. Dane Jackson returned to practice today after getting carted off in the home opener with that neck injury. So that's a good sign. I don't know if he's going to play. And then other notables that did not practice is Jordan Phillips. He didn't practice at all either. So that's another key guy we got there on the defensive line. Ed Oliver, Jordan Poyer, and Mitch Morse, they practiced today in a limited capacity. So those hopefully we get those guys back come Sunday.
I think for us, I mean, those two guys would be huge.
Huge.
We're banged up, and it's funny because the Ravens last year, y'all kind of went through this, but it were like crazy injuries, like life-altering injuries as far as like their play on the field. So I'm gonna go to you, Kev. Are there any notable injuries on your injury report that you kind of can highlight for us as Bills fans?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I know for how lengthy the Bills one is, the Ravens actually are pretty fortunate with how unlengthy theirs is. And I know after last year, it's a very nice sight to see with the injury reports looking like college essays for Baltimore last year. Looks like the Bills won today. But so for the Ravens, they had J.K. Dobbins practice in full after being limited yesterday with a chest injury. Also, the good news for them is Ronnie Stanley has practiced in full for both days this week, Wednesday and Thursday. Wow. It's unclear whether he's going to be able to go, but he expressed a lot of optimism after practice that, he feels great, a lot better than he did week one of last year when he only played that one game, then had to have another surgery and was out for the year. So that'd be big for them if he's able to come back, especially because their offensive tackle, Patrick McCary, has not practiced for the past 2 days with an ankle injury he picked up in week 3. Juwan James tore his Achilles in week 1. So while the Ravens have had consistency over the left guard, center, right guard, right tackle positions, left tackle's been a rotating door of guys. And if he's not able to go, Stanley, it'd be the rookie Daniel Faalele out of Minnesota, who has never played left. Well, he played left tackle in week 3 when McCary went down, but he was a right tackle in college at Minnesota. And going up against that Bills pass rush, that'd be something to monitor definitely when you're talking about Von Miller on the opposite side there. Other than that, though, the Ravens also, Justin Houston has not practiced the past 2 days with a groin injury he picked up in week 3. So little iffy. I wouldn't anticipate him playing. The Ravens signed Jason Pierre-Paul a couple days ago. Officially, we'll see if he's able to play. But their outside linebacker position right now, it's dire. The cupboard is bare, I will say there. And Odafe Owe has yet to do a ton. Other than that, Michael Pierce went on IR today. He's going to miss the rest of the year with a torn biceps injury. He had to decide whether he wanted to play through or just have the surgery. He opted for the surgery. He's a big loss. He was one of their most consistent defenders so far this year, both in the run game and providing a little interior pressure. Other than that, you have James Prochet practicing in full. He probably will play. Maybe he's like a healthy scratch, if anything, but he's going to be there. And that's it. All the injury report is there for him. So unlikely compared to Buffalo's, which I know people in Baltimore are very thankful for based off what happened last year.
Sure.
Absolutely. I mean, Baltimore, listen, they went through a laundry list of injuries last year. So I guess it happens to every team, right? The injury bug kind of hits every team. But I kind of wanted to shift to like a storyline because this is a huge game. Kev, you talked about it earlier. This is a game of the week. So I kind of wanted to ask everybody here today, who does this game mean more to? Right. Granted, it's early in the season. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, everybody's trying to vie for that AFC #1 spot. Everybody wants the bye. These are two teams who probably may meet in the playoffs. So I'm gonna go to Kev first and then Rad. But I want to know, Kev, who does this game mean more to?
Yeah, I think it means a lot to both, and I think for almost different reasons. I think I'm going to give the advantage to Baltimore in this situation for the reason that the playoff loss is still on a lot of people's minds. The Ravens haven't played in a playoff game since then. And I know that it was tough to see just how that game flipped on its head after the pick six, where the Ravens are deep in Bills territory. And a lot of people felt the Ravens could have won that game. And I know Lamar goes out and everything. And it's nothing like against the Bills. Like, like they played a good game. They won the game. Like, that's how it worked. But I think when you have that, you've seen a lot of comparisons between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Look, I respect the heck out of both guys. Like, I think both are phenomenal quarterbacks, But at the same time, I know that for people who are comparing the two, they're saying, well, Lamar has to get the best of Josh Allen. Or like, this has to happen, that has to happen. So I think when you're talking about if it means more to Ravens fans because of those reasons, I think the big reason, though, is the playoff loss a couple years ago, where it hurt in that situation because a lot of people felt they could have made a run. They beat the Titans in the wild card round. You're thinking, all right, this could be it. And then Buffalo goes out and, does play a heck of a game. And in a game, we're talking about weather for this one. The weather in that game, the winds were swirling all over the place. Justin Tucker misses 2 field goals. And Tyler Bass missed a couple things too. So I think when you're talking about that, my argument for the Bills would be obviously a huge game early in the year, really good opponent. But also the loss to Miami last week was just so emotional, so draining in a lot of aspects where, look, they're coming out. And it's almost like what the Ravens had last week where they lose to Miami in week 2 in a different way than the Bills did, the blown lead versus the tight contested game. But I think in that situation, you could argue, hey, the Bills want this one because after what happened last week, they're going to come out motivated. And I think both teams will. But I'm going to say Baltimore just because of the playoff loss in 2021.
Interesting. So, Rad, if you could talk about it in terms of the MVP race, I know there's not like a lot of national coverage on it just yet. Obviously, it's early in the season, but who does this game matter more to as far as the MVP is concerned? Because the two best players in the league right now, from pretty much everybody's metric, is Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, right? They're playing at a high level. So who would you say like this game actually means more to?
It's Josh Allen because he was the guy that everybody had. It was like he's the one who can do who's like coming down. Lamar Jackson was kind of like, it's kind of like the darling. He's only can go up now. Josh Allen can come down because he was already, everybody had him. They had the Bills going Super Bowl. They had Josh Allen winning the MVP. You know what I'm saying? For some reason, the Ravens kind of like not as talked about during the offseason because of last year, because of Lamar Jackson. What was talked about the most was Lamar Jackson contract more than if they're going to be a good team. Is Lamar Jackson going to be the MVP or is they going to make it to the Super Bowl? So I think it definitely means more for Josh Allen just to keep, like Kevin said, because of the loss last week to Miami. Just how do we respond to that? Given all that energy to that game, we saw what our Ken Dorsey how high he was in that press box. How do we respond to that? How does McDermott gather these guys with all these injuries, maybe not having Gabe Davis, stuff like that? How do we respond to that? And I think if Josh Allen comes and have a great game after, even though he had the yards, he threw the ball 60 times, he made some heroic plays, but it's still, as Bills fans, we know it wasn't his best showing out there. He left a lot of meat on the bone. He left some things he would have had back. So how did he respond to that? And we think he's gonna respond well. So I think it means a lot for Josh Allen, the whole narrative going into the season, because he was the favorite.
Interesting. And I kind of want to set this question up for you, Kev, because I see people in the comments kind of talking about it now, but a lot has been talked about with Lamar Jackson, him playing blitz this year, right? He played Miami last year, and that was kind of the blueprint that Miami kind of took. Well, some people suggest that the Bills, we blitzed 48% in that playoff game, and people seen it then. They seen some of the issues then, and then Miami just took it to a whole nother level last year. So my question to you, Matt, is first, and then I'm going to give Matt, as a Bills fan, right? What do you fear the most? Is it a situation for say, okay, I am to pass the ball, right? You know what I mean? Let's
You're a
just
little
sit back
choppy,
in a
Sam. You're a
zone.
little
Bills are
choppy.
running 90%. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you better.
Yeah,
You
get
good.
that. Using your cricket
Okay, I apologize,
hotspot or what?
No. but my question is, Matt, like what do you think Leslie Frazier going into this game? What do you think he's saying right now?
I mean, we have to put pressure on Lamar, and when we do put pressure on him, we have to get home. We have a very good counterpart in preparing for Lamar and in a Josh Allen with the escapability and the running aspect of Josh. They can practice against him and see it, but man, I still can play that Matt Milano getting juked by Lamar Jackson picture in my head in the background when he came free on a blitz.
Oh, you broke his ankles.
And those type of plays, we can't have that. We got to have 3-4 guys swarming to get him going, because one-on-one he's gonna be able to escape from that, and he's got the guys that can really run and go deep in Rashad Bateman and Devin Duvernay. So gotta get some pressure on him. Gotta get to him and finish. That I'm really more afraid of his escapability than anything, because he is becoming more of a better passer, and obviously his ability as a runner that's always on display. But he's the stats are coming up more and more as a passer. So I really am worried about him breaking free against our secondary.
Interesting. So, Kev, I want to know, how do you think the Ravens will attack the Bills' defense? Right, we know that we're down some players. Micah Hyde, he's out, for the season. Christian Benford is out. Our secondary is kind of lacking. Our defensive line, hopefully we get some pieces back. We don't know. Is it a situation where you think that the Ravens will try to attack us in the air, or having J.K. Dobbins back and healthy, you'll try to give a heavy dose of the running? Because I know Greg Harbaugh, he said that I think no, I'm just saying Harbaugh said that Justice Hill, he was like an Olympian or something. Like he just gave all the praise in the world. So like Harbaugh, swears by Hill. Shout out to every fantasy person who had Hill a couple years ago and didn't do anything. But so Kat, what do you think kind of the attack or the approach of the offense will be?
Yeah, so it's funny because the run game, we talk about Lamar Jackson's running ability. He has been the offense. And I know Josh Allen's been the Bills' offense. And I think, 83% of total offense is Josh Allen's number. Lamar is 86. He's accounted for 86% of the Ravens' total offense. The run game, I'll give you a stat. In week 2 against Miami, if you take out Lamar Jackson's rushing, the Ravens had 16 carries for 36 yards. Mike Davis averaged 0.8 yards per carry on the ground. Mark Andrews was out yards per carrying him as a tight end. So it's not been great for the Ravens run game outside of Lamar Jackson. And Justice Hill, who you talked about, had 10 carries for 60 yards. And everyone was like, oh my God, like this is amazing. Like, and it's crazy because of how dominant they were in 2019 and how dominant they were in 2020 with the ground game. But this year, it's been Lamar Jackson's arm that's been carrying them to victories this year, which has been, I think, what a lot of people didn't expect, because they traded away Marquise Brown and they're wondering how are they going to replicate that speed and that playmaking. They've done it with Rashad Bateman. They've done it with Devin Duvernay. So in terms of how to attack this Bills defense, I think what they have been doing this year so far is trying to push the ball down the field with big playability. Rashad Bateman only has 8 catches this year, but he's averaging 28.3 yards per catch, which leads the league. So they are attempting to get the ball into their playmakers' hands and make sure that they can get into space with the ball, which I think is really important. But if the Bills do decide to blitz, if that's their game plan and they want to do that more often than not, something Lamar Jackson's improved upon this year is just taking the short stuff, taking the check downs, little short pass, out route, slant, whatever it may be. Sometimes, he would definitely run around and try to, sometimes it'd be, there's something there you can throw, but he ends up trying to run or this, that, and the other. Same thing. Maybe he's trying to run when there's an open throw. Same thing. But I think the decision-making has been a bit better this year. And I think it's just because of the comfortability behind his offensive line. Last year, the offensive line was a rotating door in multiple positions. They had Alejandro Villanueva playing left tackle, which was just a disaster for him. So this year, it's been a lot better outside of the left tackle situation. So Jackson looks more poised, more confident. The zip on his throws is a lot better. So I think the Ravens will try to attack Buffalo deep. But at the same time, I think that they also can take the short stuff and have those long, sustained drives. But I think a key part in this is what's the weather going to be? If it's going to be a rainy day, if it's going to be a windy day, then it's going to come down to both teams' run games. I know Buffalo's run games are a bit iffy this year. Baltimore is outside of Lamar Jackson, the same thing. So it might come down to who can run the ball better in a wet game like that.
I got one follow-up question just as far as philosophy. Like you said, y'all try to be a running team. Greg Roman, we know historically who he is. Like how does the Ravens fans feel about that? As far as like, at one point we was thinking about do Lamar need another weapon? Y'all trade, like you said, you mentioned you traded away Marquise Brown, right? And now y'all to double down on the run game. What do you feel as far as the philosophy for the Ravens and the pass happy league, right? Where everybody passing the ball, 60 times a game. Do you feel like y'all got the philosophy to compete at the highest level in the playoffs when you might need to pass the ball more? Or, that running game is still going,
it's interesting because I think what a lot of people have wanted is to see Lamar Jackson be unleashed as a passer because he's had the natural passing ability, but we have seen the Ravens scheme, I think, be a bit limited in some of those aspects over the course of Lamar's first 4 years. So now entering year 5, we're seeing some of those freedoms as a passer. At the line, they're running under center a lot more, which I think has benefited him a lot more than, just doing, some of the pistol shotgun stuff we've been used to seeing a little bit. And in terms of a passer, he's had the deep ball strength for a while. He's improved on the deep ball accuracy, throwing outside the numbers in the middle of the field. He improves every single season. And I think now what we're seeing is someone who puts in the work. I mean, he didn't end up showing up to OTAs because he was working with his own quarterback coach trying to get better at certain aspects of the game that I think we have seen so far. So when it comes to maybe later in the year, you get into the playoffs, the Ravens in any team, you can't run the ball 50 times a game and not pass and win. You also can't pass the ball 50 times and never run and win. You have to have some, even if one aspect's not good, you have to be able to do both at some level.
Yeah.
Like Buffalo's run game is a little, it's like, oh, wait, well, what are they going to do with the run game? Because it's not wonderful right now, but they can run it a sliver here and there, especially when you have Josh Allen as your quarterback. So I think with Singletary and all those guys, they can do that. And plus the ability he has as a passer. So for Lamar, I think the Ravens, they're on the right track to that philosophy. I think you have to have a balanced offense if you're Baltimore. And I think the passing game that we've seen so far has been encouraging.
It's funny. Us talking about philosophy. I think personally, Leslie Frazier, we're just gonna go too high shell. I mean, I'm not gonna say I heard a source, but I may have not. But I think we're gonna go too high shell. Y'all know I have sources in the locker room. I think we're gonna go too high shell and just take away every kind of deep pass. We don't want the chunk plays, right? We do not want.
That's the Bills' defense always, though. You know what I mean?
No, true.
It's like,
I'm just saying with that, and that's what the league is moving to at this point. That's why we're not seeing a lot
of uptick around the whole league.
Right. So I mean, listen, Lamar, if you can methodically kind of move, like Kev said, down the field, and Greg Roman can call, great plays on third down, then we'll see that. And I kind of wanted to shift too. With that even being said, right, I kind of wanted to go to our over/under segment because I think obviously with the long sustained drives, what kills them are turnovers. Right, you know what I'm saying? Like turnovers can kill a drive, and so I just want to throw it out there, because obviously Lamar Jackson, he hasn't. I don't know if he's fumbled this season. Has he fumbled this season, Kev? Yet?
Yes, he hasn't lost one. No,
he hasn't lost one. Okay, so just Lamar Jackson turnovers. Let's just see. I just want to see where everybody's headspace is at. I'm gonna set the over under at 1.5, and that means either fumbling the ball or an interception, right? So 1.5. Turnovers, and I'm gonna go Kev first, and you can kind of explain, how you feel about that. Do you think he's gonna go over and under that?
For total turnovers, I'll say under. Lamar's been pretty good at protecting the ball this year, but I think the Bills' defense is the Ravens' toughest test by far this year. They're gonna have to figure it out, and I think what might happen, and this I think is going to be big for Ronnie Stanley playing versus not playing, because if Von Miller is lined up against a rookie and Daniel Faalele, they're going to have to send help all the time, which like you have to do if you're going up. Like Von Miller anyway, you have to send help for most of the time. But I think for the Ravens, if Lamar starts to get a little pressured and something happens where, he tries to maybe force something, maybe that's an interception. The fumbles I don't think have been much of an issue this year, and I don't think they will be for the course of the year. But I think in terms of maybe he'll have one turnover, I think that's where I'll go, maybe that. So I think for Lamar to be under 1.5, I'll go 1.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a side with that. I think the defense we play, we're not going to be that aggressive as far as trying to turn them over. I think it might be something like in a late comeback effort. He just tried to, make a pass and we pick it off the end of the game or something like that. That's how I see it. So yeah, I don't see him making too many mistakes on that front. I see a lot, like you said, if it's wet out there, I see a lot of running the ball, a lot of quick short passes. So yeah, I don't see him making that many mistakes. So I say under.
Yeah,
Matt?
I'm gonna go under too. I mean, I think we saw a lot of it last week. Our secondary is more so just looking to make the tackles or tip the ball. We don't have like we don't quite have the ball hawking presence with no Micah Hyde and no Jordan Poyer in that secondary. So I'm gonna go with under.
Interesting. So let me ask y'all this, because we haven't necessarily talked about the Bills offense, and that was on purpose, primarily because I don't think anybody can necessarily stop us. But I do want to ask Kev, and I'm just going to set this over under for Bills total yards for the offense, just the total yards for the offense at 400. At 400 yards, over under, and I understand the weather. We don't know it. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, obviously that will play a factor into it, but just all things being equal, if it's decent weather out there, do you think we're going to go over or under 400 yards, just total offense, Kev?
Oh, this is tough because Baltimore has given up the most yards.
They've been giving up a
NFL.
lot, right?
They've given up the most yards in the NFL. They've given up in a span of 3 games, 1,374 total yards. So that is more than 400 yards a game. I don't want to go push because right 400 is going to be very hard. I'll go under like 375 under. Like still up, giving up a lot of yards. And the reason I want to see the Ravens do it, I want to see them be able to stop a high-powered offense and not have gashing plays for a quarter or two, because you had Devontae Parker last week, who had, I think, was 5 catches for 150 yards or something. It was like 32 yards a catch. The Ravens are 26th right now in yards per attempt given up on the ground. They're 30th in yards per attempt given up through the air. So it's almost like it's almost worse than last year's defense, because last year the Ravens' run defense was a top unit in the league. Their pass defense was terrible, but their run defense was really, really good. This year, they're not doing well against the run. They're not doing well against the pass. So I know while a team like Buffalo has been struggling on the ground, hopefully they can stop that and just not have that be an issue. But against a team with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, I think weather will play a factor. I think if there is weather, I'm going to go definitely under, and just for both sides, honestly, under 400. But I think for the way the Ravens defense is, I just want to see it first. I want to see more consistency. So I'll go under, but I'll stay around 350, 375 for the Bills.
Interesting. Matt, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, so I think, from a unit standpoint, while last week they went over 400, right? And it took a lot to do that. And I think they're going to show this week that they can be more efficient and still get those numbers. So I'm going to go over regardless of the weather, because I was at the Houston game last year and the Washington game last year where it was very rainy. The Houston game was like monsoon conditions. We won like 40-0, put up like 432 yards of offense, and that didn't really seem to matter. So I think Ken Dorsey and the offense are going to come out and show that they can put up those numbers more efficiently this week, going up against the Baltimore defense that has given up big chunks throughout the first couple of weeks of the season.
Interesting. Right? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's over. We got one of, if not the worst passing defense, and then the best passing offense. And Mac Jones had 350 or something last week, and Mac Jones and Josh Allen is, come on. So yeah, over.
I would say too.
Rag arm Mac.
Right. I'm gonna be honest. I've been kind of keeping my eye on the Ravens, but like for whatever reason, it's like a sieve over there, man. Like I don't know. Like it just seems like y'all
people get back. They banged up, but they playing but banged up. Humphrey,
True.
Peters.
And that's the thing. Like y'all invested a lot in your secondary, and it's like. And I know Kendall Fuller went out, you know what I'm saying? He's out for the season, but it's just like, where is that at? You know what I'm saying? Marcus Williams, so on and so forth. But we'll see, we'll see. But I did want to kind of ask this question. I know we're about to get off in a second. Appreciate everybody in the comments. I guess for the Buffalo Bills fans, so Bills Mafia, we kind of asked this question to all of our guests. Is there one player we don't know about that kind of necessarily he doesn't get the headlines, but he's a Baltimore favorite, right? Like when we watch this game Sunday at 1:00, we're gonna be like, man, Kev told me about him. You know what I'm saying? Like he's this nasty guy out there. You know what I mean? He comes off the screen. Can you give us or if it's two guys, I don't know, but like, can you give us a guy that you can say, listen, Buffalo fans, watch out for him, man. He's a stud.
Yeah, I'll give you two. One who's a little more known, one who's not as known. I think outside of the national or outside of the Ravens media. For the more known guy, you said Marcus Williams. I'm going to say Marcus Williams because he's a player. 5 years, $70 million. The Ravens invested a ton of money into him, and he has been he has been worth every penny of that deal. He has 3 interceptions so far, and he had honestly 3 interceptions through 2 games. But he's been that like ball hawking player for them. That look for as much of the situation Earl Thomas had off the field and how bad that was off the field. On the field, Earl Thomas was great for him. You know, the quarterbacks didn't throw at him, and it did not end nearly the way the Ravens wanted it to, and it was not what many expected. But they haven't had that presence in the back half since Earl Thomas, and you could even maybe say Ed Reed. Now, I'm not comparing Marcus Williams to Ed Reed, don't get me wrong there, but I do think that he's a player that has made an impact. We saw him last week break up a ball. He comes over from the other side of the field, breaks up a deep shot. That's the type of plays you bring him in for, and for the turnovers as well. Someone who's not necessarily as known outside of Baltimore, I'll say Justin Madubuike, the defensive lineman. He was a 3rd-round pick out of Texas A&M in 2020, Texas Tech in 2020. And I think for what the Ravens have now with Michael Pierce going out for the season, they're going to need somebody to step up. Madubuike has done that so far this year. He's kind of had a mini breakout year. I think a lot of people expected it last year. It didn't really happen in a lot of areas. He's strong against the run. He's a very good interior pass rusher. So I expect him to have a very high uptick in snaps and also make a couple plays, maybe whether it is stopping the run a couple times in the backfield or even getting to Josh Allen and forcing him out of the pocket or maybe bringing him down. He's a guy that's an X factor for me. And I think that for Buffalo fans that might want that one like unknown X factor, I think Madubuike could be that guy.
Matt, can you let, that's interesting. Matt, can you let the Baltimore fans know, can you give me a player? Give me one player. Rad's going to give me a player that's kind of, underrated, so to speak.
Well, I don't know if I'd say underrated, but I think he's overshadowed by our big signing in this offseason. Our other defensive end, Greg Rousseau. Von Miller, last week he said that he has all the intangibles to become the greatest pass rusher in the league. He's already got 3.5 sacks this season. Despite the Bills' rotation, he only got about 38% of the snaps last week. So he's making impacts in his play time, and then with a lot of attention drawn to Von and hopefully Ed Oliver coming back this week, Greg Rousseau will be able to get a couple opportunities to affect Lamar Jackson, and not only the pass game but his run game, because Greg Rousseau is also PFF I think rated him our best. As defensive lineman, our best run stopper as a defensive lineman. So that can help out in this game too.
Right.
For me, it's Matt Milano. I guess every week he's been one of the best defensive players on our team. Yeah. Every week he shows up. Every week he makes big plays. Whether it's big tackles, he's been our best tackler. He makes huge tackles, interceptions, and pass defense. Blitzing. Matt Milano has been playing at an all-pro level in my eyes all year. So I think Matt Milano definitely is the one who's been making plays all over the field. So Matt Milano definitely is the guy that's a bit underrated right now.
Yeah, I mean, and as far as like what they run too, he's been tasked, over the years with the Gronkowskis and the Travis Kelce with support from our secondary too. But he's going to have a big task this weekend to Mark Andrews, who's the best. To me, he's the best tight end in football. Kelce, they're 1A, 1B. You know what I mean? Those guys are legit every week.
It's funny. I kind of got two people and shout out to Spin in the comments. It is Jaquan Johnson, friend of the show, who had to step in. Last game, Micah Hyde went out. He had to step in. He's stepping in for the whole season. But last game wasn't great. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to just be honest. I hope he's listening. It wasn't a great game. But I think this game is going to be a little bit different. Like, he got his feet wet. You know what I'm saying? He got in there. It was hot down there. He's going to go to Baltimore. And I think this game suits him more because all he has to do is really follow his assignments, and he's good in run stopping, right? He's good in coming up, and I think you're going to see number 4, Jaquan Johnson. You're going to see him. He's going to flash on the screen, and I would not be surprised if he get a strip sack on Lamar Jackson. I just wouldn't be surprised. So I just want to just like number 4, if you see him out there, I think he's going to have a good game. And also, too, I'm not sure if he's going to suit up, but Shaq Lawson, shout out to Shaq Lawson, a.k.a. he's great at run stopping. Right, and I think this is the perfect game for him in containing Lamar Jackson. This is a great game for him. So maybe if he does suit up, I think he's going to have some fireworks. But that remains to be seen. You know what I'm saying? So we definitely appreciate everybody giving us a player, 2 players in some cases, and we appreciate you, Kevin. Thank you for coming on the show. I do want to, if you can, let the people know where they can find you. If you have a Twitter or Instagram or anything like that, you let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah.
Y'all can't hear me?
Yeah, you better. You back. You now. He got you.
Yeah. I think you're back. No, I got what you say. No, I appreciate it. It was great talking football again. I think this is going to be the game of the week, hands down. I mean, the fact that it's not prime time. I don't know how they got there, but they got there. But yeah, for me, you can follow me on Twitter at ChaosStriker34. I'm also the host of the Locked On Ravens podcast. Twitter for that is at Locked On Ravens. And yeah, we do Ravens talk 5 days a week on Locked On Ravens. For Ravens Wire, we do Writing 7 days a week. So very Ravens centric over here. So I hope I can provide some Ravens opinions for you guys.
Absolutely.
No, we appreciate that. We definitely appreciate that, especially after the game. A lot of our fans love to, kind of go back and kind of just see a different perspective on it. So we definitely always try to ask our guests to let us know that. I do apologize for the technical difficulties. I don't necessarily know what's going on. Maybe I'm getting some weather in here. But with that being said, Matt, let the people know about the contest that's coming up. Let the people know.
Yeah, so just like every week, our good people at Buffalo Wing Kings, they give you guys an opportunity to win, even when the Bills lose. But the past couple of years they've been winning. But anyways, the contest we're going to run this week is just like every other week. We're going to do the score prediction. This week, the Bills against the Baltimore Ravens. You're going to predict the score, and as a tiebreaker, you're going to predict Josh Allen's total yards, so his passing yards and his rushing yards. So you're going to do that. The contest closes at 12:45 on Sunday. So everybody gets your submissions in and get a chance to win a $30 gift certificate to Buffalo Wing Kings.
Absolutely. Shout out to Buffalo Wing Kings for $30. Listen, if I could, I would enter in myself. But listen, we appreciate everybody on. We definitely appreciate Kevin. And I do want to say this. Please follow us on all social platforms, especially the Instagram show. Because 11:30 Sunday, we have an Instagram show. Our editor-in-chief of our website, Michael Daniels, will be on Instagram, Mike D, talking to some people about the game. So please, please, please be in tune with that. And I think with that being said, that's all we have.
Score
so listen,
prediction.
meet us
But
there.
say we
Score!
didn't
Oh
even
my
predict
God,
the score.
I forgot.
I know that the technical difficulties are killing you right now.
Yeah, it's the weather. It's the weather.
It's the weather, man.
Kev, you go first with your score prediction.
Man, I think I'm gonna make you guys happy. I think Buffalo wins this game.
Really?
I think they win.
Me too.
I think they win. Yeah, right. I think they win 34-30. Now, here's the thing. I think there are so many avenues Baltimore can win this game.
Yeah.
Baltimore can win this game so many different ways.
Absolutely.
I just want to see the defense do it because I told you before, the gashing parts that the Ravens have had on defense, they've given up those plays to Mac Jones and Devontae Parker and obviously too with Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, those guys. But with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs coming to town, right now it's not clear whether Gabe Davis will play, but they still have weapons on that offense outside of Stephon Diggs. There are guys that can beat the Ravens. So I want to see them be able to either shut down a run game or shut down a pass game completely. And that's where I am. So this is not like a non-belief in Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar is going to play a great game. I think both offenses are going to play really, really great. But I do think if it comes down to defense, you have a defense in Buffalo who, top 5 in passing defense and rushing defense versus Baltimore, who is bottom 10 in both. So based off of those stats, I'm going to go Buffalo, but I do think it'll be a close game and a high-scoring one in a game that either side can win.
Matt.
Yeah, it's going to be, a showdown of, 2 of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the game right now. I'm going to go with Bills 38, Ravens 30. I think it's going to be a high scoring game, and I think the Bills are going to come out on top.
This for me. This is interesting because I think this is the best team that the Ravens have played. I know we both lost to the Miami Dolphins somehow, but I think that's more of an aberration. And I think the Ravens definitely going to be tested on both sides of the ball this game for the first time, or the greatest time, I think. So I think the Bills win. I think the Bills score quickly, and I think it's the Ravens going to score too, but I don't think it's going to be as close as y'all saying. So I'm thinking 34-20 Bills. 34-20 Bills.
Wow. Generally, and this is just a tip out there for anybody who needs to know this. If you are gambling, it's called fade the public. So I think I'm fading everybody because I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as y'all think. I know that's the anticipation of the game, but last week I was right when I said 24-21. I was kind of on par with the game, with the Miami game. It was 23-21. But I think this is going to be in that similar vein. I think it's going to be a close game, low scoring. So I got 19-23, Buffalo winning. I got 19-23. I think it's for whatever reason, I think you should kind of slam the under. It's going to be a sneaky under game. Not going to see a lot of fireworks, but some stalled drives in the red zone. But so 23-19. So we'll see. We'll definitely see. Definitely anticipating this game. I can't wait. Game of the week, as Kevin said earlier. And we appreciate everybody being on. And y'all know how we end every show with a little bit of that. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, hey, hey. We're going to get it right one time.
Only Buffalo is going to win it, folks.
Kick your heels up and down.
Let's see why the Buffalo Bills are en route to the playoffs.
Come on now, the Bills are making it happen now. Stand up now, come on and shout.
Buffalo Bills go undefeated. And we're going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Now, baby, come on, come on.
No one.
Come on.